Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Julie. Today I'm going to walk you through my go-to process when creating a scrapbook layout, from my first spark of inspiration to the finished pages. Now this week's inspiration came quite easily. It came directly from my sweet friend Jayma. All week long we are celebrating her incredible accomplishment of reaching 20,000 subscribers right here on YouTube. So while I was browsing through Jayma's beautiful artwork, this particular layout right here really jumped out at me. I remembered that I had some scrap left over from a workshop I did back in August, and this collection really was a pretty collection to work with. I absolutely loved the color and the patterns. It sparked my first inspiration to pick my photos. And I have a lot of photos here that I'm going to share with you in a moment. Now the next step is to select a plan. How are you going to lay out all of those beautiful photos? Well, again, this was really easy for me. Jayma had selected a sketch from the creative design team. This is sketch on page 18 and it is from volume 2. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to use that same sketch. I love the inspiration of the papers that I have here, which are really just die cuts and scraps. If you know Jayma, she loves to use up all of her paper, and she shows us really cool ways to use up your scraps. So I'm going to try and do the same for my layout today. At this point, I have my layout inspiration, I have a sketch, I have all of my photos selected. So let's bring in some papers. And again, my paper selection was inspired by Jayma. She did a layout recently where she used this beautiful collection here. It is called the Woven Textures. And you know what? It's a rare occasion where I only pull out one paper pack when I'm trying to figure out which papers I want to use and which colors. But thanks to Jayma, I was able to stick to one collection. Now, okay, I have one collection, but let's bring in some supporting cardstock. Now, my cardstock was selected from this collection right here. This is called the Frames and Flowers. If you look at the collections, they always list all of the cardstock that they have. So I pulled 2 of each colors because there was quite a bit. So in this collection here, I pulled Calypso Coral and Petal Pink. I also pulled out Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock. For the greens, I have Garden Green, Granny Apple Green, and my last color here is Espresso. I have tons of colors I can play with. Because I'm using the Woven Textures, I'm going to count this as a neutral, and all of those colors are really going to support whatever I have left out of my die cuts and of course my photos. Let's look at this gorgeous collection here for a moment, and you can see why I'm treating this as a neutral. The palette to me is quite neutral. You have, I guess, the A side and then the B side of this collection. When I was printing my photos, I really love that these neutral and textures were matching up with these pretty flamingos. I'm going to talk about these photos a little bit later, but this is why I started to look at this paper, and also I was inspired by Jayma's last video, and I will list those down below for you to take a look at. So we're going to use this one here. We're going to use it for the base page, so the black that you have. So I'm thinking, let's bring back these photos for a minute. I'm thinking these photos, it was so bright and so sunny. This is a little bit too gray for me. What's on the other side? This is a very gray kind of pattern, so we're going to eliminate that. This one is really nice, but it's also really big. It's a really busy print. This one is nice and dark. It would go, but I find that my photos are not really standing out. I like this one here. Maybe I'm going to use this print here. It's like a linen print for the white in this sketch. I like how my photos are standing out on it. Let me see, what do I have at the back? Oh, I do like that as well. And here, I only have one sheet because I've already used this on other projects. Okay, so we're not gonna make it difficult on ourselves. We're gonna remove that one. I know that I like this one for that centerpiece. And I have 3 of these. This is busy. It's quite busy, but the color is right. Let's try something together. Let's move this out of the way. And I'm going to lay out these 2 pieces. I think I'm going to lay them out this way. I have my bases here. I'm going to bring in this pretty linen print. So we're going to add this like that. And you can see that by covering up this really chunky print, if you want, by adding this piece of linen on top. Now these photos were taken at the San Diego Zoo, and this was part of a creative design team meetup, if you want, and we spent the entire day at the zoo. We had been looking for these little guys for a while, and you know what? They were right at the front when you first come in. So on our way out, we saw these, and of course we had to take photos. So I have a few photos here. This is Chelsea and I at the end of the day. Jayma was texting with her, or FaceTiming I should say, with her kids, catching up with them, and we just took a moment to catch our breath. It was a hot day, it was a fantastic day, and I'm really happy that I got to spend it and share it with these awesome creative girls. Now here I have my Flamingo who's posing, but I'm going to ask you, who's posing better, Erin or me or the Flamingo? I think we're all doing a pretty good job. Now I have 2 pieces of pattern paper here. I really do like, even though this is chunky, when you just see a little bit of it, I really do like that. So now I want to bring in some supporting colors, and this is where my scraps are going to have a role in this. And when I say scraps, I mean scraps. This is it. I don't have anything else. This is what I have left from creating a 6-page workshop, and somehow Jayma always makes this work. I'm going to draw color inspiration from both my photos and what I have left from this collection. And as you can see, there's not much left. So I'm going to move these into a little tray so that we can kind of sort them out. I've separated out what I have left from this collection, and I'm really drawn to these colors. I think that they look good against my photos. And again, you can see that I don't have a whole lot left. I've added all of the sprigs here together, all of the flowers together. The flowers in this collection are more aligned the pumpkin pie, and I think I want to pull out definitely more the calypso and the peach. Let's bring in all of the supporting cardstock. Now, all of these colors can be found in this collection. Right here, you've got some nice greens, some blues, and of course the coral and the peach color that we have. If I'm looking again at my photos, let's go through what would make my photos stand out. And I'm going to try the green because there's a lot of greens in here. And I'm going to put that right underneath. And let's see here. I'm going to do one on each side so you can compare and see which one looks better. Now the green is pretty because of course it's picking up on the foliage. So you've got all of the greenery here. I think if I was to pick one, I might go with the lightest color, but let's keep trying colors because we have tons of colors we can pick from this collection. I was interested in this blue because my shirt is blue. I'm going to put the light one on this side and see what happens. So if I drop this here, I've got the blue This is kind of pretty. And if I go with the dark shade doesn't do too much for me. Let me see here. It does pick up on the darker tones of the photo, but it's not really highlighting. If anything, this would be far enough away from the color of my shirt. It's not exactly the same color. I think it could work. But of course, let's go for the obvious colors. Let's go for the orange tones and see how those work out. Again, from this collection, we have the coral, and this is pretty pink. It looks a little peach to me, but hey, we're gonna try and sneak this in. And I do like it. Let's put this on this side. I do like how soft that is. I like this color, but it's a little bit off. These guys here were a little bit more pink. This coral, although it's really pretty, it's kind of throwing off the color of the flamingos. You know what? We actually have a color called Flirty Flamingo. Let me grab that. So this is the Flirty Flamingo. Let me remove this one here on top, so you can see the difference. Do you see the difference? This is definitely more orange, and this has a softer pink tone to it. So let's see how that looks. Oh, I think that looks really good. And you know what? This is a color I don't use all the time. I do like that. Let's grab another sheet for this side, because this is where I have the most pink if you want. So let's sneak that underneath. I think that's the beginning of a really good foundation page. What drew me to this layout that I selected was this paper, and I think it looks really nice. Although Flirty Flamingo is not part of this collection, it is part of my photos. So let's see if we can add all of these pieces with what I have left. I think I might need some help. I might have to bring in something else, but let's see what we can do with what we have. Now, this here was actually a full piece that I ended up cutting. I'm not entirely sure why. So these are my two pieces that I have now. So let's see if I can add one here, and if I can add one here. As far as scrap goes for my frames and florals, I'm falling a little short on some papers that I need to kind of add in back of this photo and this photo here. I know I have a lot of sprigs that I can use for my clusters, but as far as paper, I think I'm going to have to dig into my stash and see what else I can bring in to make this work. Because right now we're falling a little short. I decided to do my base pages, and when I did those, I wanted to show you here in the back that I did hollow out both pieces. So I hollowed out this one and the Flirty Flamingo, and you can see that my base page is not really heavy anymore. I thought that I'd quickly show you that, and I knew that this is something that was a for sure. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And then when I brought my mats in with my one lonely piece of pattern paper, I decided to mat these in Espresso. If you remember at the beginning when I pulled out all of my cardstock, this was a color that was in the frames and flowers set. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna mat my photo, and I wanna show you something. This was a happy surprise. So I usually keep all of my cardstock in a sleeve, and I also keep my scraps. And then when I looked at the back here, I had these watercolors smushing pieces, and they're in early espresso. So I'm like, okay, I need a piece back here, so maybe that one will fit. And I have a couple here. Let me pull these out. So I know that I need a piece to go in back of this photo. So I have this one now, so I can start building those supporting pieces. This is going to go on top. I could cut tags out of these pieces here. Let me see if I can slide this one underneath. I think I would go this way. So this is starting to shape up, because remember, I didn't have a lot of paper. So this is another piece that I need. if I bring back my sketch, there's a whole lot of little pieces here at the back. There's even tags, and I'm thinking that I might be able to cut some tags out of this. So this is a possibility, and this was part of my stash and my scraps. So for me, this works out really, really well. When I keep my scraps within my full pieces, I actually end up using them. You'll notice that I'm missing 2 photos here, and I'll show you why in a moment, because again, I'm missing more little pieces to tuck behind. So I'm gonna bring in this paper collection here. I don't know about you, but I got pretty much all of them. These are by families. This is the Brights. And I know that in the Brights, I have the Flirty Flamingo. So I think that that's going to work. It's great because it's just a small piece. It matches. It's a different pattern. What's at the back? Oh, that's nice, but it's too much of the same pattern. I have this piece here. I really like that. Not the circles so much, but this. I think that that would work. So I'm going to have to cut those down, obviously, but let's kind of leave it there for a moment. This is called the Thoughtful Journey, and again in the 6x6. Now the front of them, or of some of them, like you see where there's a lot of greenery, that may not go, but I think if I use it sparely, so if I hide most of the blue, I think that it's pulling that color in my shirt, and it's not too distracting. What else do I have? I really do like this one, so we'll keep that to the side. This one here, it's in this family. So I'm looking at the same color combinations if you want. There's a lot of color, there's a lot of splash of color, but because I know it's just a tiny little piece, I think I can get away with it. Let me see, what else do I have? Oh, this one's a nice one. I like that. Let me see, let's move this out of the way. So again, the reason why I'm pulling these ones out, do you see how it's pulling in the blue? It's introducing a little bit of orange. If I do this, I don't think that's too much orange. Let me move some of this distraction away. So I think I could do something like that. Again, it's pulling in that color of my shirt, and I have the back side of this. This one here is a little bit darker. I like it. I like that it's bringing in the darkness of the trees, and then you have this yellow tone, which I believe is wild wheat, but I have some yellows in here. I think that's going to work. I've gone ahead and I've cut down all of the pieces, and I have to admit I did not stay true to the sizes that are indicated here because I didn't have a whole lot of paper. I was working with 6x6 paper. This was a scrap, this was a scrap, and these ones here were just long and skinny, but I think it works. If you look at the sketch and you look at how this page is coming together, I think it works. The other thing I did is I kind of changed up my mats. Remember I was saying that I had left these 2 photos to the side because there was a lot of the same kind of color and I wanted to break it up. And when I was looking for papers and I came across this paper collection, which I've used all 4 sheets, it is this one here. Let me just pull that one out. I use that side to mat these 2 photos, and I love how it breaks up this page because there's a lot of photos here and a lot of photo mats. Now, if you don't like that look, you could also put one big square in back of these 3 photos, but you know, at the time of putting it together, I wasn't thinking about that. I don't mind it. I don't mind that they're all matted, but I like the break that this gives visually. So let me sneak that back in here. I'm going to hide pretty much all of the orange because I don't want it to take away from my pretty flamingos. But I do want this to kind of complement the shirt color I'm wearing. And then I'm going to bring this one maybe right here. All right, now for the fun part. I get to embellish with these pieces, and that's what drew me to Jayma's layout in the first place. Now, I want to bring in my title. It calls for a long title, and I have to tell you that this title did not come together easily, and it was an issue that I had with my Cricut Maker, but I really do like the way it turned out. It picks up on the color that I have. So you can see that I'm drawing the eyes into the photos and gradually bringing that Flirty Flamingo into my layout. So this is where I get the pleasure of looking at Jayma's layout and trying to find pieces that I may have. And I have this piece. So this should be an easy way to embellish. Do you see how that stands out? And I think I'm going to make it go outside of that frame, and then that's about it. I do like that the pieces that I have left are kind of the same color if you want. So I can bring this here, so I can bring this one here and this one. I have this one. I am really sticking to the sprigs to start off, like that's my first pass. So I've got that. I have another big one here and just a few tiny little ones, and that's about it. The other embellishments that Jayma used were these orange flowers, and I don't think it's going to work on this layout. Oh, I have another green one here. What about this one? This one is more in the coral. That might be pretty. And then I can add these little pieces. Let me see. This one's a double. Maybe that'll fit. Maybe we can add... Again, I'm quickly running out. What do I have up here? These are mainly circular pieces that I may want to keep for something else. That one's interesting, but it brings in a completely different color. These were tags that I had cut for my workshop. I do like the flowers. Okay, so if you know me, yes, guilty as charged. I do like flowers, but these flowers to me don't match. They are way too orange. If they would have been the peach color, that would have worked. Let me see if I can bring in a stamp set. I'm going to give you a sneak peek here of this set. This set is called Impressions A Bloom, and what I'm drawn to is the design of the flower. If I look at these flowers, they look similar to me, like the center. But what draws me more to this set is the dies. Now you can see that I've used it, but I think it would be fun if I introduce maybe a little bit of the lighter green. So I did go ahead and I cut some of these. So the tiny little ones are the same color. So I think that's going to be a nice little pop. And then I decided I could have gone Granny Apple Green because that is a green in here. But this one here seems to match this combination a little bit more. So I think that I'm going to go with that. Now we have these really cool flowers. Now, when I looked at this set, we have these bigger flowers, and I didn't want to take away from the pattern, and I didn't want to take away from the roundness of the birds. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. So I decided to cut these ones because they kind of look tropical to me, but we're going to use a little bit of ink blending. So let me move this over, and I am just going to ink blend those. I'm going to bring in my Stamp Wheel Ultra Sticky Mat to do my ink blending. I've got these on my sticky mat, and I'm just going to ink blend from the bottom up, and I think that it's going to look good. It's going to give a different look or an additional look to my layout. You can kind of see how that's going to look on these clusters. Compared to the orange, I think this is a nicer, softer blend. And let's see if we can bring these really pretty flowers onto this page. Oh yes, look at that. And I've got little ones. I'm going to tuck them in underneath. One of each. Oh, I really like that. I really like how soft that is. I could probably put one tucked in here, kind of hiding or peeking out. And then one here. And we're going to add one here. Just like that. Do you see that? That little pop of color. I'm glad that I did the ink blending. This is how it's shaping up. Let me glue all of these down. I'm going to spare you that. I don't know if I want to bring that back in. Nope, not anymore. I really like the softness of these. So I think that it was totally worth taking some time to look at what I have. And basically this was on my desk because I had been playing with it. And I just really, really like this flower. It does remind me of the flowers that were in the park. So I'm going to adhere this down and I'll come back and I'll add my little journaling spot. And here it is, the final layout. Well, not quite final yet. I still have to do my journaling. I did do that on an Avery clear sheet of label paper. This is going to look really nice. It's going to go right on top of this pattern. I usually remove the black frame. I don't know, I didn't do it this time, so I'm just going to have to make sure to cut inside of the black line, but it needs to dry a little bit. This is a kind of like a slippery surface. While this is drying, let's take a look at the layout and some of the details. Now, I do love the foundation page, and if you know me, this is a lot of color, and I drew my inspiration from Jayma because she loves color, so that was a good thing for me because I was able to bring this really pretty pink to highlight my little flamingos. I really love the way that that turned out. I love my clusters, and you know what? I'm just noticing that I have naked tags. If you've been here before and if you follow the CDT girls, Katie doesn't like naked tags, so I'm going to have to put a little bit of twine in here definitely so that they are not naked. But for now, let's take a look at how this turned out. I love that I was able to use papers that I have in my stash. So yes, this was my only scrap, but I had a lot of these sprigs. I did add a little bit more with those really pretty die cuts, and I love the results. Let's quickly finish this page together. I'm going to remove this from my 8.5 by 11 sheet. So this is how I put it in. I add what I want to be printed on top. So I'm just going to cut that down. I'm going to have to move this to the side. I'm going to bring in my little trimmer here, and we are going to cut this really quickly and add it to the page. And you'll see this is really, really good. So hopefully it's all dry by now. I just have to make sure that I cut so that I don't see the black. And now we're going to pop that on here. Now these come off easy enough. Usually have a little tearaway place, and I'm going to try and make sure that it's nice and centered. I actually like that it only revealed a tiny little bit, so I can push that down, and then I can lift this and pull back, and there you have it. Isn't that cool? Like, you just press on it and it just looks like I've printed directly on my page. I really like that. So the last touch, of course, we're going to add a little bit of twine. We're going to pop this in, and I'm just going to tug, but gently, so that I don't rip my cardstock. All right, I think we're done. So here is the finished layout. I love the way it came together from a spark of inspiration from my very good friend Jayma. And again, congratulations. Using a little bit of scraps, adding some of my own stash. I love the way this brand new double page layout came together. I want to thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to see more scrapbooking inspiration. That's it for me today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. If you're interested in my frames and flowers workshop, click on the left-hand side. And if you want to keep on watching us celebrate Jayma, you can click right here on the right. Catch you there.